Daily solutions. Daily solutions. Daily. Okay, hey everybody.
Hey, this is Graham.
And this is Ashkahn.
And today's question is, I have a sort of stringy white substance that's been popping up in my float tanks.
Oh.
Is something gross happening? It seems too frequent for that and is in all of the tanks. Interesting.
All right.
So first of all, we don't know. It's almost hard without seeing something in person to tell what's going on, and even then it's a complicated chemistry going on with all that salt water, so there might not even be one set answer to this.
Well, it sounds like they're hinting at a certain human substance.
Ejaculate. It's okay, we can say that, we're adults here.
And that's, I don't know, the way they're phrasing it, like all the tanks and frequency, that doesn't sound right to me. Like, it doesn't feel like that all of a sudden one float center has this huge problem.
And it sounds like it doesn't sound right to them either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my mind would go somewhere else, I guess.
Yeah, and a couple things pop into my mind, which I guess both of them just involve something coagulating in the float tank water. Like we definitely know of some weird kind of chemical reactions that happen as a result of all the magnesium sulfate that might be happening with this case.
Yeah. And
so one of those, it doesn't sound like kind of because of the regularity, but is worth mentioning, which is we know of some enzymes, and it's not uncommon to use enzyme cleaners to keep the float tanks hopefully a little clearer or something like that. But there are some enzymes that we've even tried in our float tanks at Float On that immediately coagulate and kind of leave this not a small amount of sort of white goopy substance in the tank. And that's not as common. Like, I think we've only played with one thing that did that. Yeah. And then the other thing that I've seen is with soaps, which is maybe the more common thing that we've run into. So soaps kind of coagulating in the salt water and leaving behind a little, almost like white papery sort of streaky things.
Yeah, I've heard of different soaps having a lot of different effects. Like sometimes when I hear from people having kind of almost like an oily layer or something like that they have trouble with, like, I don't know, my mind usually jumps to thinking about that as one thing worth changing and seeing what the effect is. Like, you might just have shampoo that has something in it that's kind of reacting strangely with the Epsom salt, especially if it's persistent and frequent and in all the float tanks. Like, that's kind of my mind is like, okay, I don't know if it's the answer or not, or if it's actually what's leading to it, but it's a real easy thing to change and test out. And if it does go away, then I have a strong suspicion that that's probably what was causing it.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the nice thing about starting with the soaps, is it is incredibly cheap and easy to run a test on seeing whether that's the case or not.
Yeah.
And a really easy way is just take some Dr. Bronner's, which is not uncommon to use, kind of just a pure Castile soap, and put that available in only one of the rooms and see if that just stops the problem.
Because we've definitely taken some soap we've had before and just like tried putting it into a little bit of Epsom salt or the float water, and it just did immediately coagulate into this white kind of cloudy thing.
Yep, so I guess that's another test, one of the old bucket tests, Take anything that's in the room, really, your lotion, your shampoo, your conditioner, your body wash, whatever you have in there, and try adding it to a bucket of salt water and see what the reaction is. You might, again, see an immediate result that is enlightening.
Yeah, so it's definitely a great, easy, low-risk place to start.
Which is not always the case with float tank tests. Like, lots of times you're like, wow, I'd have to completely redo my entire filtration system in order to figure out if this is the case.
And beyond that, it can be kind of hard to answer. There's so many variables when it comes to float tank, the solution that's in them and what's going on with it, from filtration to what type of, sanitation method you're using to
what kind of salt you're adding.
Yeah, the salt, maybe something in your water if you're not filtering your water. Like, there's just so many kind of variables in there that it's hard to pin something down very easily. But I have seen soap be a problem and create issues in people's soap and shampoo, stuff like that, create issues in people's float tanks before. So it's certainly on the list of possibilities.
Yep, and when I've heard this before, those are kind of the first two questions that I ask people, probably because they are both easy to test, is, are you using some kind of enzyme in the float tanks, and what kind of soap are you using?
And I've heard it range, not even just from film stuff. I've even heard of people having like suds, little bits of suds or something.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it can have different kind of effects.
And that's true, yeah. In addition to kind of the white stringy type of soap reaction, yeah, there's like the oil on top, oil on top soap reaction. There's the sudsy soap reaction. I guess that's it. I don't know. I was
Big
like on a
list.
roll there. I wanted to like go into like 3 more things soap can react with, So yeah, try it out. Write back to us if that doesn't solve it, and feel free to send along some photos too, and we'll take a look and maybe take another crack at the exact same question.
All right. If you guys have other questions for us, you can go to floatanksolutions.com/podcast and submit them there.
All right, talk to you all tomorrow.
Right.